Hello, folks. So today we will talk about the laws of digital identity. So this is a quite important topic for the identity system and the SSI, and we will talk about the relations of these two documents. So at 2005, Kim Cameron, so this the identity architect of the Microsoft Corporation. Actually, he wrote a quite important document that described how the meta system of the digital identity works. So this is still the cornerstone and a guide for the identity systems. I recommend this book. So that's have quite detailed explanation of the paper and all other things. So that's I still enjoying and still reading this. It's the learning digital identity from the Philip Winley. That's a really nice one. So if you have time, it's a good investment for you. And today I will focus on quite interesting scheme. So the book is maybe not so insightful, but I really like this picture, and I want to talk about this picture in a deep things. So we already talked about the principles of self-sovereign identity and how the principles of the self-sovereign identity help us to unlock the data, and here the portability, interoperability, and all other things that really matter in a self-sovereign identity. So how self-sovereign identity principles actually help us to build the identity actually systems and support the laws of identity that allow us to build the next level of identity architectures and so on. So, and here is some relations between these two. So user control and consent. So it's clear that user should control the access to his identity and data, and he always give the consent to other people to use it and so on. So, and in SSI, as you see, we have control principle as a separate one, consent principle as a separate one. So that's super easy. So minimal disclosure and constrained use. So it's clear that we should minimize the amount of the data that we expose, and we have the minimization rule in a self-sovereign identity, and the minimization rule actually is achieved by selective disclosure, for example, and Affinity SDK support the selective disclosure with the PBS plus signatures. And another way is the ZKP, where you share nothing, you just prove that you have some knowledge. Yeah, and that's easy to understand. The justifiable parties, it's relevant to the minimal disclosure, but here we talk that we share the data only with the people that really require it to have this data, and it's filled to the minimization bucket. Still, directed entity is not reflected in SSI principles, but actually the directed entity say that you could have the public and private identifiers, and actually this part is solved by our DIDs, and public DID actually is the DID that publicly resolvable, and that's the good examples of any kind of on-chain DIDs like DIT-Ether, DIT-Ion, DIT-Element. Affinity SDK support the DIT-Element, for example, and DIT-Polygon. So it's mean that everybody could resolve it, and so it's a good thing, but the public identifier open us the possibility to have the traceability, and sometimes uh, traceability and correlations, and sometimes we want to build the DID methods that are private, peer-to-peer. An example of this private and peer-to-peer methods for now is the DIT-Peer method, and it could be some implementation of DIT-Carry, but actually this directed entity is covered by by the DID quite well, and if you want, you could have the private identities that are peer-to-peer, and it's a quite interesting topic itself, the identities, the names, and the correlation between these things. So maybe I will make a separate video about this. So pluralism of operators and technologies is quite important things for the identity meta system. That it's quite hard to build a universal identity meta system because it always depends on the context. It always depends on the quite different data, and we want to make this system flexible enough to support the different authorization schemas, to support the different claims, and all other things. And the key of this item actually fit to SSI principle of the portability, and I would say that interoperability too. So we have two relations, and the portability of the information achieved with the open standard, the same as interoperability. That's why we're so keen to support the latest specs and always give user the choice. And so that's a quite important thing. And human integration, it's a big topic itself, and what it's mean that a lot of modern identity system ignore that people interact with the system, that people should be educated, that people should understand, and that they should care about the data, they should care about their keys and all other things. So in SSI we have two components. First of all, it's existence. So we say that we automate and create the identity only for the person that exists in a real life. And another is protection. Protection means that actually we build the system in a way that the user have protection from the big players, and he have the right of operating with his data and identity, that we could not take out this right from the user because we just shut down the system, or because some of the parties they changed their mind. So but the human interaction is much wide thing. It's just integrating of the personality and humans to the architecture, and educating people and building systems for people. So it's quite important principle. And consistent experience across the context. Yeah, it's yet another, I would say, quite big UX topic here that allow us to build something that user will understand. So it's heavily correlated with the rule 6. But what we want to have that our meta identity systems behave in the same way, even if the contexts are different or data schema is different, but user knows what to expect. For example, we build some passwordless flows, and this passwordless flow for the user should always look similar, that user get the access to his wallet, confirm something, and continue working. So the laws of digital identity is a quite good paper to read. The principles of the self-sovereign identity. It's a couple of articles. I already have a video about this principle separate. But we could quickly take a look to the missed parts. So the access, for sure, user who should have the access to his data on every time. And for the access to the data, we need the persistence that allow us to keep this data for the user, or give him the mechanism to persist his VC, to persist his identities. Yet another important principle is the transparency. So we try to use the interoperable and portable formats. We try to use the open algorithm. We try to use the things that are not secret and not magic, so it's available for everybody. So as you see, SSI, it's a quite good base that allow us to build an identity system that compliant with all the requirements of the modern identity system, and we could even do more. So I already talked a bit about that user own practice the network of identities, that user should have the possibility to build the ephemeral or short-living identities. But about all these interesting topics we will talk in my next videos, and I recommend you actually to read this book that I showed to you. So it's the learning of digital identities, and it's quite insightful, and it will be the topics about the different architectures. The knowledge about the SSI is distributed across the book. You see that we have the verifiable credentials here. We have the digital identity architectures. So I really recommend it. So subscribe to my channel, subscribe to all my communication like the Medium, and I will be happy to answer all your questions that you have. And